Fresh is the word.
Yo, welcome to the Fresh is the Word podcast. I'm your host, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, and like always, we have the freshest of guests for you. The guests for this episode are members of As Everything Unfolds, the six-piece melodic post-hardcore band from High Wycombe, UK. The vocalist, Charlie Rolfe, and the guitarist, Adam Kerr. They just released their debut album, Within Each Lies the Other, via Long Branch Records on March 26th of 2021. From the time that Charlie Rolfe looked for musicians to start a band on an online directory, As Everything Unfolds has quickly become a band creating quite the buzz in the metal world while becoming a family of their own. Charlie and Adam run through the creation of As Everything Unfolds and the lessons about life and music they went through growing into adulthood as a band. With a beautiful mix of melodies over edgy riffs, Within Each Lies the Other shows the organic talents of the members of As Everything Unfolds. The youthful energy of the band comes out in their music, in every part of their public personas, as being able to chat with Adam Charlie made me just fall in love with the band so much. They were a joy to talk to. This was a very fun interview, so I can't wait for y'all to listen to it. So, after a quick word from our sponsor, we'll get into this interview with Adam and Charlie of the band As Everything Unfolds. Before we start this podcast, I want to definitely remind you of a sponsor for Fresh is the Word, 20 by 20 Apparel. Founded in 2015, 20 by 20 Apparel brings original tributes to pro wrestling's classic arenas, moments, and events. They look to spotlight the bloopers, bleeps, and body slams along with the biggest, smallest, strangest, and strongest. In the world of wrestling where there's hundreds of shirts, promotions, flyers, social media accounts, and ads, don't get lost in the sea of parody shirts and display fonts. They can provide professional graphic design services at a reasonable price. 20 by 20 also hand screen prints all the tees in-house. So if you'd like to discuss a possible run of tees, posters, koozies, foam fingers, or even Zubaz, then drop them a line at 20by20apparel.com. That's the number 20x, the number 20apparel.com. And also check out their enamel pin line. It's super cool. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fresh is the Word podcast. And joining me is Charlie Rolfe and Adam Kerr. They are two members of the six-piece melodic post-hardcore band from High Wycombe, UK, called As Everything Unfolds. And they just dropped their debut full-length album, Within Each Lies the Other, on Long Branch Records. How you doing?
Good, and it's High Wycombe.
Oh man, see, like, yeah, man, High Wycombe, man. Like,
do you know what? It's so funny because even people from the UK go, "Oh, High Wycombe," and you're like, "What? High Wycombe? It's Wycombe."
Yeah, see,
obviously, you have an excuse, but like people that live in this country just don't.
See, us Americans, we bastardize everything, when it comes to language.
It's like Worcestershire sauce, isn't it?
Yeah.
We bastardize everything within language that it eventually becomes the language,
Yeah.
So, it's all good. Like I was saying, really dig the new album, man. Like it's very, like it just grabs you, man. Like a lot of the riffs, a lot of the, the hooks and everything. And you guys, it's a very, you guys are still very a young band. Started in 2017. You had the EP Collide. How did this sort of like, how did sort of all this band start? Why did you guys come together?
Join my band.
Join my band, literally. That was the funniest thing.
There's a website, I don't know if you have it in the US. I think I had this discussion with somebody else. It's kind of like a Craigslist for like bands. That's kind of the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I joined. And that's how we got Liam, our original drummer. And then it's also how we found Jamie. But it's kind of like when we tell people, they don't believe us because it is just so full of trash. I'll be honest with you. There is like people on there that can't play guitar, you know, or has-beens and God knows what, and there's so many adverts, and then to actually find somebody who you can work with is actually quite rare.
Yeah, you don't really hear that anymore. Like, you hear everything, bands come together in a more social manner. You know, like back in the day, like in the MySpace era, MySpace had a cool thing where you could, you know, everything was broken down into regions and cities and everything. Yeah. So bands could really connect. But to see a listing, that's like an old school thing that, you know, people used to do in magazines and shit. So like that, you know, it's a good idea in theory, but like in this age on the internet, not maybe, but so you guys are actually lucky that you found each other.
Oh,
yeah, and it's amazing because the demos that we sent you, they sounded awful. Like, it's amazing that Charlie even joined. Like, the demos we had sounded like the worst thing you've ever heard. She's like, yeah, I'll join. This sounds like a great band.
Do you know what, though? They weren't that bad. Like, you know, we were, I mean, I must have been, I think I was probably about 16 or 17.
Probably something like that.
It must have been. So, like, I was quite young, and like, you know, so the demo sounded great to me at the time. You know, I thought, oh, this is cool. You know, I'd already been in a band before, but we weren't particularly great either. You know, we used to self-record and all that kind of stuff. So this already sounded like a step up, you know. So, but I'm glad I did, because look where we are now. So.
It's true. That's true.
What's you know, how long did it take, you know, you guys to mesh well? You know, how long did it take to sort of figure things out within everybody?
I think it was quite instantly, wasn't it?
Yeah, to be honest, I remember.
You started writing fast.
Yeah, I remember like the first couple of like times I came to like yours, Adam, when we first started as a band, and I remember like meeting in the Co-op car park, supermarket. For anybody else who doesn't know what Co-op is, it's a nice brand of supermarkets. I met in a car park, and I saw Adam in his bright white coat that he still owns.
From a P. Diddy jacket.
Yeah, yeah, literally. So I turned up, and like John must have been 15, I think, because he's
14. I think. Yeah, I think he was like 14.
Yeah, he was so young, and like I met him, and I was like, oh no, this is like being in a band with my brother. It wasn't fun, but I liked Adam, and I liked our guitarist Alex Payton at the time, and then George was in the band, but he was at uni, so he wasn't around when I first joined. So I didn't actually meet George till a year into the band, which is so bizarre.
Is it that long?
It was a year, yeah. And but I remember the first like couple of writing sessions. The first time I showed up, I think we sang through some covers, and we did one of the songs that they'd written with a previous vocalist and stuff. And then I think the second time we just started out writing. That was kind of it from there, I'm pretty sure. So yeah.
Well, and we didn't stop since then either. Like, we just kept going, and that's just been it the whole time.
Yeah.
Weird.
How, you know, what was the difference between like, you know, these demos that everybody was sending to you in comparison to the music you guys were writing together?
Go on, Adam.
I'm trying to think what the old stuff, what ones I can't even remember what demos we sent you, or unless that was the ones. Did you hear Hourglass? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Mostly it was like the timing of stuff. We went with some random guy to record these kind of demos, and everything was out of time, and it just sounded like a mess. I think it was nice. So when we did it like ourselves, it was like, oh, these actually sound like songs. They don't sound like 4 drunk people just playing instruments together.
Yeah. And John was actually the drummer before, by the way. So who is now the keyboard guy? He used to be our drummer. So yeah, it's been a lot of chopping and changing around these parts.
When was the first time you guys ever just like went into a real studio and was able to do something like real?
It must. I mean, to be honest, it was Dan, wasn't it? I think. To be honest.
Let's say Dan. Let's not.
Yeah, let's. Yeah. So Dan.
We won't count that one.
That was proper. Like Dan was the first So for our EP Closure, which is the one before our album, we went in with this guy called Adam Kerr, and he's great for like starting bands. Like he's really reasonable. He's really easy to work with. He works from home, so it's not like a high stress studio environment that if you're a new band, like might be a bit uneasy or a bit stressful. And he works with a lot of bands at that kind of level and a little bit higher. So he was perfect. We went with him. I think it was a really good learning curve for us because I think we'd done everything ourselves previously. Yeah. And obviously with some ups and downs with that, like obviously it saved us money because at the time we were all working part-time jobs while at college and uni and school for John, you know what I mean? Like it was a hard time financially. So taking that jump to go with somebody in the studio was financially like, now I think it was like £200 per song. It's not a lot now.
So cheap.
When you're earning like £50 a week at your salary, you know, that's a lot of money. So yeah, that was probably the first time, and I think since then we've kind of never gone back.
I don't know why we would. Like we went for one single and it sounded great, and it's like, well, why would we not do this? Like,
how did you both? You know, what was sort of both your musical upbringings? When how did you get into music? What was that first inkling of like wanting to make music?
God. Do you want to
yours
go
got
first?
Paramore, surely.
Well, do you know what?
Yours was Paramore. I know that mine was like.
Not. It's actually Avril Lavigne.
Really?
When I actually think about it properly.
Oh, she does bang.
Yeah, exactly.
Slaps, yeah.
So like when I think about it, and I think about like growing up, and you know, so my parents listened to like it wasn't really a big thing in America, but like new romantic, so like 80s new romantic music and stuff, and I was brought up on 80s pop, and my dad loved 90s club music. And Oasis and U2 and kind of a lot of Britpop bands and everything in between. So I've been brought up with quite a wide range of music in terms of rock and club and whatever. And then I think when I kind of started going, I think the first ever like band, I think it goes for most people our age, is S Club 7. Everybody listened to S Club 7 in primary school. When you were like 7, everybody, don't stop, never give up.
Yeah, but not on purpose though. You had no choice. They played it anyway.
You know, at the school disco, everybody would be like, reach for the stars. You know, like, everybody loved it.
I was in the back like, I hate this music. What's this?
And then from there,
yes, I hate it.
That's Adam now. But naturally from there then came like Avril Lavigne out of the pop scene. Kind of, she came and she was like the rebellious like pop star or like rock star who didn't care. And like a lot of girls like loved it, and it was such a big thing in the 90s and 2000s. And I think from there then I kind of went on to like bands like Fall Out Boy and Paramore and kind of the softer version of rock, the pop punk and kind of stuff like that. And then I sort of experimented, and I went like, you know, into metalcore and then deathcore, and then I went, actually I quite like some of it, but it's not really for me. And I kind of fit nicely in this kind of post-hardcore melodic section where I quite like. So yeah.
That's in the middle, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm not classically trained in any form of music. I didn't do music at school. I've done a couple of vocal lessons here and there, but like nothing major. So,
wow.
Yeah, but you don't need to bring the theory. I bring the theory.
Yeah,
you bring the talent. It's fine. That's the balance that we have.
Yeah.
You ever remember when "Since You've Been Gone" by Kelly Clarkson came out? That was the first song I was like, oh, I quite like music. This is actually pretty cool. And then it was like, cool. I heard Korn. I was like, oh, okay, right, this is much better. But
yeah. What about you, Adam? Because I don't actually know much about like when you were like growing up and stuff.
Probably it's loads of like, my dad loves Meatloaf, Thin Lizzy. He loved Oasis, Foreigner. Like I listened to all that kind of stuff. Like when I was like Bryan Adams. That's where I get that from as well. That's like the sound. If you put on Bryan Adams or Meatloaf, that's the sound of my childhood, like holiday vacationing somewhere, just like bat out of hell in Spain, as if that's like, oh yeah, okay, this is rock and roll.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. You know.
When did you start like wanting to like make music, and what was sort of your upbringing with that?
And I know I started to impress girls. That was why I started.
Of course, yeah.
I'm not joking. I was like 13. I started playing bass. I was like, girls are gonna love this. They didn't love it. You know, it felt like they would.
The bass player.
Fair, no one likes a bassist.
No, well, all my friends played guitar. I wanted to play guitar.
Yeah.
But we needed a bassist, so I was the bassist, and then eventually I played guitar. But somebody has to do it, and it was me.
It's weird really writing music, because like I feel like there isn't really a point where you decide to write. It's kind of like a weird natural, what I feel like it's a much more like natural progression from like you do covers, And then you sort of go, your mate in your band will be like, oh, I came up with this really cool riff, and then the drummer will play some shit drum beat, and then somebody will start singing something, and it just kind of flows. And that's kind of, for me anyway, that's kind of where it started. Like I didn't mention, but I was actually in a band previous to this, and like just through school and stuff like that. And,
Isolation UK.
Don't please cut that so people don't find it, because I have been hiding it forever because I can't delete it from the internet, and I don't want anyone to find it. So yeah,
I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
But no, basically it's yeah. So that's kind of where I first started doing that kind of stuff, because this group of boys, they were all quite into their like music theory, and they were all really, really talented musicians. And I was kind of thrown into the mix, like, you know, I just sang. I didn't write, and I just got thrown into it. And they were like, oh yeah, do you want to write some lyrics and then just like sing some bits? And I was like, okay. And then and they were like, yeah, that's quite cool. And I was like, oh, okay, actually, maybe I can do this. Maybe this isn't as scary as I thought it was. And yeah, rest is history.
You know, what's sort of like the culture of the area, the city that you're from, when it comes to just music and any sort of artistic expression?
We live in the countryside. Everybody hates it. No, I'm joking. Partly, but so basically, like High Wycombe is kind of like a town base for us, but like we all independently live in like little like towns and villages like around it, which are quite like countryside and stuff. Yeah. So there isn't like a scene. Like High Wycombe used to have, I think about 20 years ago, way before we were even in the scene, there was bands like Young Guns, and there's another band, I think which I know Shikari are from like round our way. Yeah. There used to be, yeah, no, they're of St Albans, so it's not that far. Yeah. But it's kind of, there was this kind of scene in like High Wycombe that had like, they had decent
venues. Dig Young Guns, man.
Yeah, Young Guns are, yeah, but they're from like High Wycombe, and and there was such a big influence for such a short period of time, and then typically before we were around, and then sort of when we started playing, there was kind of like a couple of venues, because there was like the Lope, the Nag's Head, Scorpios, there was like a couple of venues, and then now there's just one venue. Yeah, they all shut down, and there's one venue now that's still standing, like literally on its last legs, and it's so sad, because it, you know, I feel like I hope that we've influenced a lot of young bands in the area. I don't know if we have, but because again, there's not really like a meeting place or anywhere cool that people who like music can go and hang out. You know, there's no alternative clubs. You have to go into London if you want to like go to that kind of thing, which isn't that far for us, but it's not just a night out. You have to like create a whole like weekend out of it, kind of thing. So but yeah, I hope that we've inspired that. And there are some other bands from our area, like The City Is Ours as well. They're from round our way, and yeah, I mean, you never know, but I'd say that I think I've seen a lot of bands in London, and I think Adam could probably say the same. A lot of my influence in terms of like the scene has kind of come from like, you know, you went to like Camden, which is obviously a quite alternative part of London, and they've got a lot of venues. I've seen a lot of bands there. I've met loads of people like through that gigs and stuff like that. So I'd probably say more that than our particular area.
It's a shame, isn't it? Because like I feel like when we started, there was a little scene, and it's obviously developers come in, and it's like, oh, we're going to build a pub, we're going to turn into flats or anything, and so everybody's had to move, and so what would have been like this cool little scene in the outside of London just doesn't exist anymore. Yeah,
because we are on a train line. You have to become part of the whole now. Yeah, we're actually on a train line directly into London. Yeah, and it is frustrating because like, unfortunately we live in like a high value property area, so as soon as a venue closes, becomes flats, or becomes like 5-bedroom houses, and they flatten it all, and it's really sad because there's a venue, I know there's a venue in like Guildford that they've been like battling with property developers for like years, and it's like a venue that like Oasis have played in, you know, I think like some of like the really old like bands in the 70s, I think even David Bowie had played there like back in like the day. It's been around for ages, and basically these property developers are kind of like trying to like shut it down, and I'm just like, the music industry is on its knees, and you're like, just fuck off, just for once, just fuck off.
Right. We have the same shit here in the States, man, where and especially here in Detroit, man, where like they're revitalizing it, developing it, and you don't know where the culture is going with it, you know, where that fits into.
Yeah.
So, you know, starting bands when you're so young, you're teenagers, and that's like just a formidable time in your life. Like, how's it feel like you're writing these songs, you're making this music when so much is changing in your lives and you're becoming adults, like how does that feel?
Oh God, it's such a huge
Like the
part of
constant.
like, yeah, I mean, it's been such a huge part, especially of Closure. For me, like Closure is like my angry teenage record, like Closure is a very angry at the world, angry at people, angry, and I look back now and it's not even that long ago, but I look back and I'm like, it's literally not. And I'm like, I was just so angry at everything. And I think now we're
Right.
developing and I'm kind of coming into my mid-20s and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm finding myself and I'm becoming more happy in myself and not being bothered about who is around me or, if people hurt me, I'm just like, whatever, I don't have time for you anymore, rather than getting all emotional and upset about it. Obviously,
Hey,
it
you're
still
getting there
hurts
faster
you.
than most people.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But the music honestly has helped. Like it's been like a form of therapy, like especially this album as well. Like it's just another way of like dealing with it. And it's
Yeah, some
this
people
album
don't
is,
ever like learn
yeah,
that, man. Just like if you don't fit my life, boom, you gotta go.
yeah.
But that's how it
So
should be, you don't have all these people just being negative all the time. It's just like draining, isn't it? And it's nice to
mm,
put that into a pretty song and go, hey, here's this horrible thing. Now it's really pretty. Uh,
yeah,
like
basically,
fuck you.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I like about your music is that it sounds pretty, but there's an edge to it, and there's something real underneath it all, and it's so you kind of get a little bit of everything. It's very easy to listen to. But at the same time, you get that energy and that grit with it
Yeah, yeah.
also.
Hmm.
I think we try to get a nice balance, don't we? Like,
Yeah,
because there's sometimes
yeah.
where I'm like, oh, let's do the heavy one, and you're like, oh, can we do some light ones? I'm like, okay, that's fine. We'll do some of these. We'll do some of those. We'll do some of that.
There's a
Like,
song for everybody, including us. Like sometimes, like we're like even with practice, like sometimes at the end of when we've done our sets, we'll be like, "Oh, should we play the heavy one?" Or like sometimes we're like, "Oh, let's just play a chill album track. Like let's just play like And I like that about us. I like that we can sort of like, and even at different shows, like we've been discussing this as a band, like we can play heavy sets, we can play light sets, we can kind of slot in anywhere and appeal to anybody at potentially any point in time. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's mad cool because you can be like very versatile with who you can play, what shows you can play
Yeah.
and everything. You can
mm,
because you have those like those tools to be
Hmm.
able like, yo, we're gonna do it. It's gonna be a little bit more heavier because playing with these heavier bands, but then you can like chill out, be a little bit lighter with some of these other that's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That's
But that's
something I
nice because you
really
don't want
like
to not
about the
fit on
band. It's
bill.
like it's you get more than just like one dynamic.
mm-hmm.
Hmm.
What how long did it take to sort of figure that out? Like to get comfortable in like sort of having these multiple tools.
I don't think we ever even talked about it. It just happened.
Just happen, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like just so weird. Like we've never talked about it. It's just like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, we thought, yeah, we
That's
actually are like, we never sat down as a band and went, right, we are metalcore and this is what we do. We've just never had that discussion. It's like, it's weird. It's like, I don't know. We just sort of just carried on. Like Adam said, Adam would just write music, like write the kind of like music and we'd just be like, yeah, that's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
cool.
that sounds cool. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
And then you write like them on the next day and it'd be like 3 breakdowns in it. And I'm like, cool. Like,
Like, yeah, it's cool.
we have no, I mean, sometimes we'll be like, oh, that bit might be a bit too much, or like,
Yeah.
oh, that might be a little bit too, we just, I think the main thing we do is we just say it doesn't sound like us, but not because it's too
Yeah.
heavy light, it's the vibe. I think that's the thing with us is
Yeah.
as long as the vibe is right, we can do anything we want.
What's sort of like the sort of working MO within the band when you're like writing or in the studio? How do you kind of deal with conflicts or things like, yeah, this might be a little bit too much?
I think we tend to pass it to like a mediator. Like, I mean, I know with the album, because we had a producer, obviously that is like an external person, but also we have a manager, which also helps if you want to not diffuse the situation, because we don't really like argue as a band about music. Like that's the one thing we argue about the silly little things that don't matter, like what color the social media post is going to be, or like what font we should use, or, you know, which is fine because they're little things that don't really matter that much. But, you know, in terms of the music, like we've never really argued. There might be like little bits where, like, especially with Jamie, our drummer, you know, sometimes he will just get really, really into it and like over kind of do the drums on a bit that's just not necessary. And like normally we'll all kind of look at each other, and then Oz, our producer, would be like, yeah, Jamie, mate, like just tone it down a little bit, you know. So that's kind of the best way of dealing with it. But I feel like maybe a couple of years ago, a lot of us would have been a lot angrier, including myself. Like if somebody said to me, like in the band, oh, I don't like your bit, I would have been like, yeah. But now we're much more professional and are just a lot more relaxed about it all. We're like, okay, nobody's attacking you because they don't like you. They're attacking you, or not attacking you, but they're, you know, trying to help. They're not trying to make it worse. And I think that's.
I think also, like, you know, but we've done it for so long now. It's I think it gets easier like the longer you do it.
Yeah,
right.
It's like any job.
Yeah, it's the same, isn't it? Like you just get, everybody gets better, everybody gets, it's a bang, 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 next one. How do we keep going? Yeah. Otherwise, if you just sit there and you're like, oh, I don't like this bit, oh, I don't like this bit, and then you just sit there for 2 weeks and nothing happens, like pointless.
Yeah.
Who helped produce the record, and what did they bring to the table?
It was Oz Craggs and
Hidden Track Studios.
Yeah, Hidden Track, but he was also the bassist in Feed the Rhino. Don't know if anybody knows of him, but yeah, he's a really good dude. He brought clarity and good sound to our band. Like his production, I think we mainly went with him because of his drum and vocal sounds. I think that's probably the main, like the way he gets the crispness and the sort of like clarity of everything, because we've got a lot going on musically. I'm sure you'll agree, Adam, like there's a lot going on to get the music to sound good without it just being a muddy mess is quite difficult. So to go with him, and I feel like he definitely did what he could with our sound, and I'm happy with it. So yeah, he's a good dude. He's like the sort of guy you go, he just puts a nice little bow on it at the end, and you're like, oh, you did it. Oh, isn't that just lovely? Like,
you know, what was sort of, you know, from a songwriting standpoint, what did you really want to accomplish with this album? This is your debut full length. What did you want to bring out to your listeners?
We wanted to make a statement.
Yeah,
you know?
and also show the maturity, like in terms of how we've grown as musicians as well, because like I said, Closure is a really good EP and it still stands up, but like, you know, there's a lot of things on there that I'm sure if we could rewrite now, we would and do things differently. But like, you can't do that. You can't keep going backwards. You know, you've got to look forwards. And I was so excited to show people how we've moved on and how we've like developed as musicians. I think for me, that was kind of the strongest point. And also doing the whole like one heavy song, one light song, and because it was an album, we were able to do that. You know, on an EP, you don't really have the scope to do that. And I think it was just nice to tell like a bigger story and to really delve into an album campaign.
I think there's definitely a bit of a journey when you listen to the tracks as an album, as a piece. You know, it's not for everybody. Not everybody likes to listen and consume music in that way. But I think that if you were to, we've tried to put like a nice flow and a nice bit of story and everything into it so that it feels like a listening experience, you know?
Yeah, talk about the sequencing of the album. You know, what did you want to do with that journey?
That's Adam's job.
Oh, well, it was telling the story. Like, we're trying to get the highs and lows in there and just sort of see how as a listener, it's going to be the easiest to sort of digest it in the way that we want to make it happen. I feel like it's hard because of the way the sound changes. Some of them are so heavy and some of them are so light, to make it flow in like a nice way, that it rises and falls as a journey of, you know, you reach these mountains, you get through them, but then also you have to come to the peaks on the other side. You have to go all the way down to then lift yourself up again.
Mm.
You know, for this album, you know, like with the album cover, the music videos, the lyric videos, and everything, the visuals are very cool. I like them. How did you guys want to, you know, represent your music visually?
I think it was, for me, I've always loved like really themed album campaigns, you know, so something that you and your fans can really kind of grasp onto, you know, not just releasing an album and kind of just doing random photo shoots and nothing's really cohesive. And you know, I love cohesive branding. It's like such a pet love for me. And so I kind of was, you know, playing with ideas, and I kind of came up with this like one thing that we could kind of theme the album around. And it's kind of, I don't know if to say it because only our fans on our Discord have figured it out. But it's basically like a thing that like we just picked and it worked we were able to build our ideas around it, and it worked lyrically, like it worked with the concept of the album about like kind of that within each lies the other is about like within each of us lies another you, and you have to kind of deal with that to come out the other side, like as above so below kind of concept. So, and I feel like, and then there were kind of colors related to this thing, which is where the red has come from, the red, black and white, you know, the flowers as well, that's linked to it. So it really gave us a nice base to work with. And I think that's helped us so much to kind of get more involved in it as well.
Yeah.
Being that you guys are a young band and you're kind of part of like a new wave of bands coming out, how do you connect with your audience? You know, what's sort of like, you know, how do you, you know, stay in touch with your fans, you know, that might have been different than, you know, the previous generation?
Discord.
Social media as a whole, isn't it? You know, we try to be really active on them, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Discord. We like to keep in touch with our fans because we just like hanging out with people, you know. And we can't do it at shows anymore because you can't go to shows. Well, not here anyway. Yeah. So it's nice to have that, you know, band interaction. We all talk about tunes, but then just talk about life and just talk about things that make us happy, things that we're into, things that I would, you know, we'd be having a drink at a bar and we just get chatting and stuff, you know.
Yeah,
it's good, important to have like to be human. Yeah,
I mean, we've even started a bloody TikTok. We don't know what to do with it. We're kind of in that generation now where we're like past the TikTok.
Yeah.
We're like on the edge of the Gen Zs. So I'm like, oh God. And we started a TikTok and we're sort of like, now what? You know that scene in Finding Nemo where they're all in the bags at the end and they're just like, yeah, okay, so what do we do now? But yeah, but we've started and we always try and engage in so many different ways. But we do have a fan Discord, which is just for anybody can join. You don't need to pay anything or anything. You just join, and it's basically just like sometimes we do the community hangouts. We chat with the fans like this on call, and we just share pictures of dogs and cats, and people talk about their day, and we have a laugh, and we share things on there that, you know, you don't want to maybe post on social media, not in a bad way, but like the kind of monotonous day-to-day stuff in terms of the bands that, you know, you wouldn't always post on socials. So that's been really, really nice. And we've kind of, I think there's about like 170 people on there now, like, and we haven't even had it that long. So it's been a really nice way for people to engage on that level.
I gotta join. I just kind of got into the Discord thing, so like I'm gonna definitely join.
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's a really good way of doing it because we've got kind of the different channels and people can chat about different things and stuff. So it's really good.
Hell yeah. What's you know, what sort of like when it comes to this album, what do you hope your fans get out of it?
Just some sense of that they're not the only person that feels that way. I think for me lyrically, and I think just overall, like in terms of the concept of the album, it's like you're not the only person that feels like that. And also, you know, don't give up because you have to push through that to get to the other side. I've been there, Adam's been there, we've all been in that situation where you're like, you're in a rut and you sort of just feel like your life's just ticking over and you're sort of waiting for something good to happen. But I feel like sometimes you need to sort of embrace what's happening and really look at it from a critical standpoint and go, what can I do to change my life for better? And obviously certain situations it is easier than others, you know, if someone's in a dangerous situation or whatever, that's totally different. But like for me, definitely the album was a whole process, and it's kind of like a lyrical like diary of my thoughts going through that process, really. So that's what I hope people get out of it.
There's a real sense of hope, isn't it? Just at the end, like this. So we try and leave it on this uplifting thing of like things will get better, you know. We've all come from this horrible place. Let's all come together and rise together, you know.
seeing the way that this band came together, you were just kind of like grabbing these people from this listing, and you guys kind of melded pretty quick. How did you guys like? What's sort of your relationship now? Are you good friends outside the music? How does everybody interact with everybody?
Oh, we're friends first and probably band second. I think, to be honest, this band is very much like, we all hang out like, with our other halves as well. Like, I think we're planning like a barbecue, like when we can go out and meet our friends again. We're planning a barbecue and we won't talk about the band most likely. I mean, it'll probably come up, but like, when everybody's there and we're just having a good laugh, and when we used to go out, we used to go bowling and we used to go to like eat sushi together, and and go to cinema sometimes we used to do, and things like that I think is important. It's like at work you have team building exercises, and I feel like it's the same with the band, because it can be quite like intense, especially at certain points. So obviously, like when you've just where we are at the moment, we're kind of like riding the wave and everything's nice and we're just like having the fun. But when it gets to the crunch time, it can get quite intense. So I feel like it is important to still make sure that everybody's like happy and everybody's good and everybody's sort of on the right page, really.
What do you guys like doing? Like you mentioned a few of the things, but outside of music, what's your regular, everyday things? Really can't get together these days because of the pandemic, but just, what do you like to do when you're not doing music things?
Quite a few of us are gamers, isn't it?
I think that's it.
We love games. Not necessarily all the same games, but sometimes we overlap.
Yeah. I think all of us are gamers. No, John plays World of Warcraft now, but like
John's a gamer. He tries to pretend that he's not a gamer, but he's a gamer.
Yeah, we all kind of like different games. We don't really play games together, which is really weird.
We've done a little bit, but not so much. A little bit, they don't cross over, because you like Animal Crossing and I like shooter games. So
I like RPGs and I like Skyrim and Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah, but to be fair, I like Skyrim. There's multiplayer Skyrim, that'd be fun.
Elder Scrolls Online, it's rubbish though, don't bother. But yeah, it's one of those things where like it is, for me, it's an escapism. I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube, like not YouTubers, because that sounds like, I hate that term, but like I watch a lot of I listen to a lot of podcasts recently. That's kind of what I do. I like sort of put my headphones in and just do jobs and listen to podcasts, listen to a lot of like crime podcasts, watch a lot of documentaries. That's my fun.
Crime.
So, which is a bit weird, but I do find
cry
it
for
really
fun.
Yeah, literally. I listen to podcasts when I drive as well. So I listen to like 7-hour podcasts. I am a weirdo. So yeah.
I don't think I can do that.
And there's a cool thing these days, like in like sort of like in this new Twitch generation where music and gaming have come together, and a lot of bands have used being a gamer to actually build a fan base.
Is it that guy in Trivium that does that? He like has like a massive
Matt
Twitch
does that. Yeah, he
does.
He
He's like you said, he's literally like crossed over. I'm pretty sure he streams changing his guitar strings on Twitch.
Yeah, he does both. He does like, I've watched some of his streams because he does some games and stuff, and sometimes he plays some riffs and people chat to him and he writes some bits and pieces and stuff. I think it's like a hangout, isn't it? Just you doing you with some other people. Like, that seems kind of fun.
Yeah, it's something we've never really delved into, more because we don't have the equipment. Like, I mean, I don't have like the capability. I game on like console. I don't game on PC. I know Adam does, but like, it's quite hard streaming. It's not as easy as people think it is. So
right.
Well, so you need such a powerful computer and internet and stuff for it to be good quality. That's the big crutch, isn't it? Really. Otherwise, it's all pixely and it's like, can't see what you're doing.
Yeah.
No, it's cool because like, take somebody who's like a big star like T-Pain. Like, he kind of revitalized his life in his career through Twitch, and he was like an early adopter on that. And now he has this like huge following, and he hangs out with other like, VTubers and Twitch streamers and everything. And it's cool seeing this other side of him. And then with this whole pandemic, things like Twitch and everything is a very good outlet for other people to continue what they're doing.
Oh,
Oh God,
100%.
yeah.
I think it's such a great market. Like we've done like we did a couple of like live streams and things like that. You know, we've delved into like that side of kind of this whole pandemic. But the gaming thing, we just like I said, we don't play a lot of multiplayer games and stuff
Yeah.
anyway. So it's quite hard for us to kind of like get that anyway. But all for people doing it, because why not? You know, if you can have fun and people are happy watching you, what?
I've just realised, I don't know why I said this before, but I don't know why this has never clocked before. I play Destiny, and
Oh, yeah.
there's these things called raids that you do with 6 people. Guess how many are in this band? There's 6 of us. I don't know, I've never thought about this before. There's like, because there's shooter bits, but it's puzzles as well and stuff. So you'll love the puzzles and stuff.
I've never played Destiny, so I know
Right,
Adam's.
it's free to play. Like,
Is it?
maybe we will. Yeah, it's free to play.
Ah, there you go.
Boom.
You might have instigated.
Mind blown.
Maybe. It's fun with 6 of us.
Hey, it's an idea, you know. Try it, boom, you know.
Yeah, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. No harm,
This
no
whole
foul.
pandemic has been it's been really good for like trying out new ideas and seeing what works,
Yeah.
because like some fan bases have been like it's really worked for certain bands, certain things they've done, and others flopped. And you know, it's like we did like our first ever live stream show that was like it was streamed at a venue, so we played at a venue that was empty apart from the crew. And we were like really kind of nervous about it, because we were like, it's really bizarre, like, because we have to perform. It's not like you're just doing a practice. It's like you have to actually, like, you know.
Yeah, you gotta perform, but there's nobody there to get that energy from.
Yeah, and we were really nervous. But actually, I think at the end, we kind of turned around and went, that was actually like not that bad. And I think, I mean, do not get me wrong, nothing replaces a crowd being there. But like when the guy like passed me the phone, because it was like there was like a live chat on it, and they were like, it was like you couldn't even read the comment, and then there was a next one coming in.
Yeah, they're just coming.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, people are really enjoying this. Like, I was really surprised, because I thought there'd be like 10 people watching and they'd be like, oh, this is boring. But like, you know, it was a really great way of also keeping venues alive during this as well. I mean, the venue we did it at luckily managed to do a fundraiser to stay open as well. But, you know, things like that did at the beginning of the pandemic, when they were allowed to do that did really help as well. So it was kind of like, and also for bands, it was a way, you know, people could like tip, and we did like a raffle where like you could win merch and stuff like that. So it was beneficial for us. And then people.
What venue was that?
As well. It was a Black Heart.
Yeah, I donated to that. You know?
Oh, did you? Good.
Yeah, I donated to that through the band Employed to Serve.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Nice.
And I ended up winning a test pressing of their first album.
No way.
That's really cool. That's really cool. At least I donated. I just donated money. So.
Right, and I also bought there was this other I forget who did it. They're pressing up these these 7 inches of a few bands, and one of them's Venom Prison, and I love them.
Ooh,
so
nice.
I donated that also.
No, that's really good, because they're honestly like, they're probably like, the reason I think I'm so attached to that venue is because like they were one of the first venues that kind of gave us a chance as a young band that wasn't a pay-to-play gig. I don't know if that's a thing in the States.
Oh,
like,
it is.
Yeah. And it's like, so like, you know, it's in London, it's just a rip-off. Like if you're a young band, they will just come to you because they know that you're desperate to play. Whereas promoters at the Black Heart, they don't do things like that there. And, you know, that they gave us a shot. And when we were like pretty much nobody, I think it was on like Collide. So, you know, they do hold a very like good place in my heart, and I'm very grateful, and I do enjoy it. The toilets not so much, but that's kind of become a meme in itself, the toilets at the Black Heart. So
venue toilets,
we have that thing here, rock venues, toilets, blah blah blah. It's gotten much better though, you know, but back in the day there was some like
it's not good.
To the point where you're like, I might be immune to COVID.
Yeah. Somebody posted like ages ago, like on Twitter, they were like, "Oh, if you've ever been in the toilets in the Black Heart, you don't need to worry about COVID." And I was like, "Do you know what? I believe it."
Right. We've had some crazy bathrooms here in Detroit, but so I feel you.
The worst, just on toilets in venues. The worst one was that one in Hamburg in Germany. Do you remember the one I honestly, I held my wee in all night. I didn't drink a single thing because I was like, I'm not weeing in that toilet. And I went into the men's toilet because I was like, maybe the men's toilet.
better.
No, it was worse. I think it was worse. I don't know. So I was like, do you know what? Either I'm going to have to go and wee behind the van and do the fairy toilet. And like, I don't know, the fairy toilet is basically when you go to the toilet, like, you know, in the woods.
Yeah.
And,
and the clarification.
So, well, I don't know. Some people, I've seen fairy toilet before, and people are like, well,
I've never heard of that term, but I understood what you were saying.
Yeah, so it's just like a nice way of saying it. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to go fairy toilet. And I was like really getting stressed out, but I managed to hold my wee. And I remember we were staying in their provided accommodation for us. And I was like, yeah, but that was the funniest thing, was that the venue was like shockingly dirty and disgusting. And in Europe, they don't really enforce smoking inside laws. So they were just people like smoking in your face. There's ash everywhere. It was just, and I was like, I'm going to sleep in the van. I'm not doing it. And then we got there and it was the nicest apartment I've like in terms of band accommodation.
Yeah.
It's just so nice. I went into the toilet was clean, shower was clean. I was like, what? It was so weird, but it was a great surprise.
Bad toilets and smoking in a venue. Ooh, you give bad memories of my past, you know. I'm glad they finally outlawed that, like in like I think 2007 maybe. You know, the smoking thing.
Ours was early. I think smoking inside was 2003 or something, because I remember.
It was
quite early. Ones. Yeah. But technically it's illegal in Europe as well, but they don't enforce it.
No, they don't care.
Come home smelling like ass. Even your underwear smells like cigarette butts. You're like,
Another one.
Cool. Before we get out of here, you know, it's been great talking with y'all. Like, what you know, you have any final thoughts, final words for, you know, listeners in regards to, you know, the new album and, you know, anything, you know, what you're trying to do as a band?
I think just enjoy it, but like we're not stopping. I think is like, I'm feeling really positive in this album, and you know the reception we've got from it has inspired me hugely to keep going, because you know when you've been working on an album for the time that we were, I think it was like 2 years, we kind of went on and off working on this album, and you do get really dragged down by it, and then when it's finally out there and people are loving it, it's like it's giving me so much enjoyment again that you know you kind of lose through time, and it's kind of like it's just kind of inspired me to keep going and keep writing new stuff, and I'm much more motivated, I think. So from a personal standpoint, that's what it's doing for me, but I hope people are enjoying it as much as they say they are.
Nice. Where can people go online to get more information about the new album and about, you know, the band itself?
Don't really know. No one's created a Wikipedia for us yet, so there isn't.
That's when you've made it, though. You know?
Yeah, that is true.
But, when there's the Wikipedia, that we've made it.
Yeah, but I don't really know. I suppose on our Facebook, we don't really have like a bio anywhere. I think if you Google, there's probably some like, other articles and stuff that we've talked about it in. But generally our socials is kind of the place where we post like up-to-date stuff. So, which is As Everything Unfolds on Facebook, and then AEU Official on Instagram and Twitter, and I think on TikTok as well. So, yeah.
I know it is on because it's definitely not on TikTok. It's too...
Good.
All right, it's great talking with y'all, man. Go cop that new album from As Everything Unfolds. Within Each Lies the Other. Man, I had a blast talking. You two are so lovely, man. I want to be friends with y'all. Like, I want to come hang out with y'all.
Yeah, man.
Y'all are so nice, man. Like, so lovely and so nice.
Oh,
thank you.
I'm so glad, because, like, I always get worried that we're really miserable, because, you know...
No, you're not.
So... Yeah, well, that's good. That's a good thing. I mean, we're pretty like, we're just always out to have a good time. I think that is
good vibes all the time, you know. And when we can finally get to America, we're having bevs.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I don't drink anymore, but whatever.
You're having a lemonade. As long as there's a drink in your hand, man, I'm happy.
Yeah, and I hope you guys can make it to the U.S. sometime in the foreseeable future, back when we get back to
sooner rather than later.
Thank you for listening to the Fresh of the Word podcast, hosted and produced by myself, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, empowered by Anchor at anchor.fm/Fresh of the Word. Fresh of the Word theme music provided by Steve O. You can find more of his productions at iamsteveo.bandcamp.com, and that's EYEAMSTEVEO.bandcamp.com. Fresh is the Word is available on all major streaming platforms. Please rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. If you want to support Fresh is the Word, please consider pledging via Patreon at patreon.com/freshisthe-word. Follow Fresh is the Word on social media on Twitter at Fresh is the Pod, on Instagram at Fresh is the Word Podcast, and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Fresh is the Word. For more information about Fresh is the Word and our other podcasts, Breaking Records and Renaissance Soul, and a collection of pop culture articles and reviews, please visit freshithepodcast.com. Thank you for listening and your support. Goodbye and good night.
Fresh is the word.